Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our training today. We've been getting a lot of questions regarding variable rate code changes, and we thought this training would be really beneficial for our network. So thanks for taking the time to be here with us. So in this session, we'll be talking about maintaining contract variable rate codes. To determine your variable rate offers, you'll go into Tool 660. No selections are necessary. You'll just update it to the current month and year and press enter to print the report. This is a sample of the report. It will show you the type of variable rates that you offer, if they're tied to an index, and what the current rate is. Variable rate code configuration is found in Tool 935. To edit an existing code, you enter the code and use enter. To create a new code, enter a 3-digit number and choose a contract variable rate type, and then press enter. Modifying an existing code. Once a variable rate code has been initially created, the method for changing its rate depends on whether the rate is indexed or non-indexed. If the variable rate is tied to an index, use F10 when you want to change the value of it. Once the proper index code is changed, the system will automatically schedule the change on all variable rates that are tied to that index. Note, loans with a contract variable rate code have their own per change date, so indexes and non-indexes can be effective immediately. For non-indexed, any variable rates that are not tied to one, enter the variable rate code on the screen and use enter to proceed to the variable rate configuration screen where changes to that rate can be scheduled.
So this is the screen where you enter all of the parameters for each member's individual contract. These parameters will match what you have in their documentation for this. So your lifetime max, your lifetime minimum rate, your per change maximum, and the minimum that rate can change by. You can decide in here if you're going to recalc the payment every time a rate changes or every time a change is due, whether the rate changes or not, or you can calculate a payment change only if the actual rate does change. Your adjustment frequency is here, your payment change delay is here, which is usually after the change date, so your members have time to make their payment. You have a rate change notice. When is a notice going to be created to tell your member that they are due for a scheduled change? Normally, this is at 60 or 45 days for adjustable rate mortgages because you must notify your member of the upcoming change. So during beginning of day processing, the system processes any rate change that have been scheduled for all of your variable rate codes. So if you schedule a change to happen on the 15th of the month, during beginning the day of the 15th, the rate change would take effect for that variable rate code. At this point, the change would affect only new loans that were created during that day. During end of the day processing, the system creates pending change records as of that due date. So if you had a loan that's pending change was due May 1st and they had a 30-day rate change notice, during end of day processing, the pending record would go back to end of day April 1st to create the pending change records. So once these records are created, it is what will happen on May 1st for that individual member. Once that happens at end of day, when you come into work the next morning, there will be a report out in CU SPI, the pending rate change register. The report name is PENDC. Those are all the pending records that were created the previous evening. If necessary, you can make any manual changes to these records. So this is the actual pending record. So it would show the effective date of the interest rate change. I'm looking at the bottom half of the form, the updated information, the effective date of the payment change date, the new interest rate based on the index, and their estimated new payment amount, their next adjustment date, and the next due date. So these adjustments for adjustable rate mortgages can happen throughout the month. They are usually scheduled on the anniversary of the mortgage. So you will have dates that are not always the first of the month.
So after all needed changes are made to the pending change records, the rate change notices, they need to be laser printed. The notice is created using the data from the pending change record. Before the notices are printed, you can make adjustments to the settings on the pending change record. The notices will then incorporate those changes when they are printed. So on this example screen here, you can see it allows you to select a printer tray. Please note this is not an automated process. You must use tool 638 to prompt the notices to print when ready. If the notice is not printed, then the pending rate change will remain in the ARL-PEN table, and the rate will not be moved from this pending file to be applied to the member loan. So if you're not printing your notices, no changes are happening to your loan. Notices can't be reprinted once they've been printed for the day. If necessary, you can delete the pending change record so that the record will be created overnight and the notice can be printed again tomorrow.
Just want to add one thing here about the pending rate changes. On this pending notice, we are sending an estimated payment amount. The system goes out and it amortizes your loan at the time the pending record is created. So if you have a 60-day look back, it's looking at your actual loan, the next due date, the current rate. It's looking at the scheduled payment. So it's re-amortizing, assuming your member is going to pay their exact amount due on the due date. It doesn't take into any consideration any late fines, any overpayments. But once that rate change happens, and then you have your payment change delay, the day of the payment change delay, the system will amortize it as of that day. So if they did make a large, maybe $5,000 principal only payment to their mortgage, it will take that into consideration for the new scheduled payment amount. So the big thing I want to emphasize is your next change date and your look back days. So the rate change notice in this screen here under the adjustment controls, you will see it right here. The rate that's on your variable rate code 30 days in this sample prior to the next adjustment date, that is the rate it is going to assign to that loan.
We have a question. It says, how is the member to know what their payment is if it differs from their rate change notice?
When the payment change actually does happen, so if your mortgages are always due on the first of the month, it's going to wait 5 days from changing that rate to calculate it, and a payment change notice is generated through the regular payment change notice, your regular member daily notices. So you will have an opportunity to send them a payment change notice.
We have to set up those payment change notices though, correct? They don't print automatically.
You can look in your notice config, that is at the category level. It's within the code. So when you print tool 660, if when you changed rates, you will have a column here. This sample here is not printing notices and not recalculating the payment. You would have Y's in your column. 638 is the tool for printing the look back notices for contract variable rates.
Right here, print contract variable rate notices.
One thing I do want to point out, with payment changes, these only apply for adjustable rate mortgages. Rate changes do not apply for home equities that are variable rate for HELOCs. HELOCs recommended you not change the payment because the payment changes are calculated on my remaining number of payments, and line of credit loans such as a HELOC does not store a number of remaining payments. So making a payment change would not be accurate today.
Well, that concludes our presentation for today on contract variable rates. Just to let you guys know, there is a very, very helpful reference doc on CU Answers website that contains everything about contract variable rates. It is a 50-page document, but it's really easy read and has a lot of great information. So we do definitely encourage each of you to take the time and kind of pick through that and see if there's any information that could help you in your specific scenarios as well. It has some more specific screenshots and examples than what we're able to fit on the presentation. While you're reviewing that, if you have any questions, please definitely feel free to reach out to us. All right, well, thank you everyone. We appreciate you joining. Have a great day.